Welcome to episode 27 of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Hard to think of a number 27. So furthest I can go back was Jamal Blackman, current LAFC keeper. So happy Jamal Blackman Day, man. It's been a week. I feel like I'm starting to say that every week now, but this week has really been one between Roman officially putting the club up for sale, team shit in the bed against Luton Town, team shit in the bed the first half against Burnley. It was a roller coaster of a week. How you guys coping? How you guys going into next week?
You're coping with alcohol, but all in all, 2 wins. So we say it a lot, but man, as long as we're winning, I'm a happy camper. So I don't care how we get there, as long as we end up pulling it out. So I'm all right, and I think we'll get into the schedule a little bit later in the episode, but a calmer schedule coming forth. So it's less daunting. So I'm a little bit better.
For anybody that has listened to or watched the Men in Blazers, I'm starting to understand where Roger Bennett gets his mindset about Everton. I really start to understand that in a much new respect. Very nervy week. Still a lot of things undecided. Obviously, the future of the club still a big talking point. But again, points are points, wins are wins. You got to win ugly sometimes, and well, I think we've come pretty close to mastering that this season. So take what you can get. Collins, what about you?
That's again, it's been kind of a struggle of a week. For those of you who listened to our emergency pod midweek, that was probably the most emotional I've been on a pod, or just in life in general. So it's been just that kind of week. So I'm coping with something new, little Mobcraft cider, hard apple cider. So big fan. Big shout out to Mobcraft, and here in Milwaukee, soon to be in Denver, Colorado as well. Matt's got some as well. The Kringle Monster. Oh, that's classic. That's good stuff.
It is quite good. Yes. I have that as a chaser behind the bourbon. So it's been that kind of week.
Ditto.
And cider pod, I guess, because I went to the Minneapolis Cider Co. on Friday and met up with some friends. So I guess it's just the cider week.
Full circle. It's all full circle. So Parks, we I mentioned the pod we did earlier this week. We missed you on that one, but real curious to get your thoughts for those of you who haven't listened, for those of you who have been living under a rock. Roman Abramovich officially announces that he's going to sell the club. Net profits are all going towards victims of the Ukraine-Russia war. Then he's not going to make the club pay him back the $1.5 billion with a B loan that he made. So overall some up and down feelings from our pod, but real curious to get your take on what happened.
Cool. First, just thank you boys for handling the emergency pod, and apologies for not being able to make it. I thought you guys did a real good job in handling the emotions day of kind of a thing is never an easy way to tackle an issue like that. I have the luxury of getting to kind of sit back and digest it a little bit more, but yet still my thoughts are all over the gamut. So I usually don't rehearse anything on this podcast. It's usually pretty free form, but I did want to write down a couple of things and get to just a couple of high level topics. All I can say is thank you, Roman. That's the first and foremost thing I can say. I never thought I would have a platform to say this. I never anticipated having a podcast where some people tune in weekly and listen. It's weird. It's kind of wild. So I have this, and I'm going to take the time to say thank you, Roman, because Matt, to your point, I don't know if I'm a Chelsea fan if Roman Abramovich isn't there. I picked the team that I picked based on some of the players that were there. We've gone over sort of how we became Chelsea fans before. I don't know if we have those players. I don't know if it's as alluring to go there. For me to go there as a fan. And so, I don't know that I am, but I'm just really thankful that I am, because I really like this club. And the one story I did want to touch, I don't think I've told this story on this pod, so I'm sorry if I have, but I think it's worth bringing up again, because you guys talked about fans and plastic fans and people who kind of are thinking about not being Chelsea fans now going forward. And my fandom for Chelsea kind of got tested the first time I went to London. So I went there. I went to a Fulham match on a Tuesday. I went with my older brother too. So went to a Fulham on Tuesday. Great match, great environment, really fun. We hopped on a train, went to Liverpool. My older brother's a Liverpool fan, and I had an awesome time at the Liverpool match. The environment was really cool. We went out downtown Liverpool. It wasn't even a win. I think they drew. Leicester 1-1 that day. And the locals were awesome. They were telling us, anytime you come in, text us. We got you. We'll hook you up with tickets, and you can sit wherever you want. You'll pay face value, nothing more. Just like the environment, it was cool. It was a working town. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, Liverpool, like you're doing it big. It was a cool environment. I'm not going to lie. And I had a lot of respect for the people that treated us very well. And we're just thankful that we kind of came over. And I went to Chelsea, and Chelsea was in a bit of a slump. And there were some whoos and ha's and some rumbles in the crowd, and very disappointed fans in the stands. And they ended up pulling it out and getting the win, but it was just kind of like this. The feeling was different, and I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know exactly what was kind of going on. So, I'm leaving this match thinking, like, man, did I, as an uninformed American, did I pick the wrong team? Did I do this wrong? So Jordan and I go to a bar. After the match, I have a couple drinks. We go onto a patio where there's, smoking available, like a little terrace patio, beer garden kind of a thing. And there's a group of like 15, what looked like 18-year-olds, but I'm sure they were of legal drinking age. And one of them just kind of goes, double, double, double. John Terry has won the double. And the shits from the lanes have won fuck all again. John Terry has won the double. And I'm like, I'm in the right spot. Man, and they sang songs all night. They had a blast. And I left that bar like, this is what it is. This is being Chelsea. And it was a great feeling, good full circle moment for me. And it's important to get tested in your fandoms. And I think this is a test for a lot of fans. We're going to be in new territory without Roman. Hopefully not, but looks like it will be without Roman going forward. And part of me almost wishes that we were not great for a few years, so some of the plastic fans can kind of get the fuck out of here, because I don't need it. I don't want to see it. And then the true fans can stay, and we can all hang out and be Chelsea fans. And no one can look at us and say like, oh, you're only supporting them because X, Y, Z. It's like, no, you go through the stuff. You go through the hard times. You go through the good times. And Chelsea doesn't even win everything every year. They're not PSG in the French league that just mops up, right? They compete and they're good, but they're not dominant like other clubs can be. So, Collins, it was a whirlwind. It was emotional. I'm really sad by everything, and I don't want to reiterate what you guys said, because you guys said it pretty much perfectly. So I don't need to reiterate it. And if you're interested, please go back and listen to what Matt and Andy had to say, because I thought it was really well done. But it was a tough day. I didn't want to believe it, and I still don't want to believe it. And I'm left here wondering what post-Roman looks like. But at the same time, knowing that I'm with my boys, we're Chelsea fans through and through. We're going to be together no matter what. And we're still going to catch up on game days, and still going to talk about it, and still do this podcast. I still want to keep doing this stuff. And even if we're not the same Chelsea, we'll be different. I think it'll be for the better, and we'll move forward and figure out what life after Roman, or Chelsea 2.0, or whatever you want to call it, looks like for us. So apologies for the lengthy story, but I thought it was important to share what being a fan is, and what being a fan to this club means to me, and how it's not always rosy, and it's not always the most fun feeling, and having to defend that I'm a Chelsea fan to everyone who says Like, oh, you're just, oh, Roman Abramovich, oh, you just buy everyone that you want, you just buy all these trophies and all this stuff. And, I hate that. And it's not what it is for me. It's a lot different. So that's it. I'll shut up.
No, that was a great story, and you're spot on about like fandom being tested, kind of making you a true fan, like in those instances, finding out that you're a true fan in those instances. For me, it was the first firing of Mourinho. But I said, I'm done. Like, you guys fucked Mourinho. That's it. And sure as shit, 2 weeks later, I'm back watching Chelsea games. It's, I can't remember if I said it or Matt said it. I'd had a few drinks by the end of the pod, but dude, Chelsea's life. So cheers to that. So Matt, you did pose the question, and I've been waiting all week to hear your answer to it. Are you a Chelsea fan with no Roman, or had there not been a Roman?
Out of the three of us, I'm probably, and I want to phrase this correctly, I am the less intense Chelsea supporter. That's kind of how I would look at it. Still loyal to the club, everything like that. But I mean, Collins, you're kind of in your own echelon as far as Chelsea fandom and support. Parks, you're definitely second, and I'm coming up the ranks. So from my standpoint, we don't know anything but this, right? Like, you come into something and that's all you know. The way I'll kind of look at it is, we talk a lot about how we played volleyball at Oshkosh, right? Before I even went there, I didn't know a ton about Oshkosh, like their volleyball and everything like that. I didn't really know a ton. I mean, Parker, you were pretty much local. Collins, you and I, Milwaukee, or Milwaukee area. And, we're like, okay, Oshkosh, whatever. We're going to go there for school. Well, some of us went there for school. And like, we didn't know much about it, but then you learn like, oh, we actually have this reputation of being very good. And, with our coach and our director at the time, who was kind of helping us through everything and stuff like that, kind of leading the whole program, that's all we knew. And I mean, you look at it now, our director has since gone on and taken up other avenues and other ventures. And now it's like, well, I don't really look to see how they're doing. I'm kind of just, okay, whatever. Like, again, it's something that's way past our time now. I mean, whatever. Like, we played volleyball there, cool, and we go on from there. So, at the time, again, you didn't know what stuff was like beforehand. You still really don't know what it's like after the fact. But in this regard, obviously something a lot broader than just, a small little school in Wisconsin. I definitely make the time to watch Chelsea games. My fiance knows that it is part of what I do on weekends and during the week. If there's a Chelsea game on, I'm not going anywhere. Doesn't matter. I am not going anywhere. And I'm sitting there, I'm watching it, doing what I have to do. So it's definitely been life-changing, right? Because it's something, Collins, how many times have you and I gone to Highbury this year at 6 a.m. to watch the games? Parks, you're up with us too. We're texting back and forth and in the group chat and everything like that. So like, it is a part of our daily lives. And I think to say that it's solely that, or to say that things would change because Roman is not going to be the owner anymore, I don't think that's the case, right? We didn't necessarily fall in love with Roman, right? We fell in love with the club. Whoever's in charge, that's a different story. could have been somebody else who was in charge, right? And we obviously love the players, and I obviously became a fan because of you guys, and started to just kind of adopt that same mentality. So I think that, as Roman has said, it is club first, and I think that's the way that it's always going to be. So to answer your question, still Chelsea.
Matt, I don't think you give yourself enough credit, man, because you're quite the fan still. I mean, you've become a big soccer fan in general. Like, you watch more soccer games a week than I do. I know that for sure. I don't know about Collins, but like you watch other leagues and other matches when they're on. And I mean, I watch a lot of Chelsea matches. I don't watch a lot of anyone else. If Norwich is playing Burnley, I'm not flipping it on. Like, it's just, it ain't happening. And so, but I applaud you for that. And you've become a good fan. And I don't think you give yourself enough credit. So listener, he's being incredibly modest right now, but you're still quite the fan. You might not have started in 2002, but it's fine. You're still a Chelsea fan, man. You still watch every fucking game. It's all right.
I might have still been playing soccer in 2002.
Exactly.
Didn't have a team necessarily, but I might have still been playing, but that was, a few knees and, a couple other body parts ago. So, but yeah, obviously I don't think my love for the sport gets to this point without Chelsea. And again, didn't matter who was in charge. We probably could have gone through 2 or 3 changes. We could have been, Newcastle or whatever, for example, right? With all their turmoil and everything. If you're a fan of the club, you're a fan of the club. And I think whoever is the owner is, I don't want to say irrelevant, but I've said this before. You play for the badge on the front. You don't play for the name on the back.
Well said. 100%. And you gave a couple Milwaukee shout outs there. Just want a real quick shout out to Milwaukee area native Jesse Marsh, getting the role as Dirty Leeds manager. Hope you win everything except playing Chelsea. That's all I got to say.
Agreed.
All right. So transitioning to the actual football that was played this week, we had FA Cup tie, Luton Town, 3-2 in that one. Kind of real definition of a roller coaster match. Fortunately, I had to watch it on a pirated stream, so I don't necessarily recall all of it, and my phone has been acting up since, so I won't be doing that again. But then this weekend we had Burnley away. Turf Moor, always a tough place to play. And again, up and down match. Less so of a roller coaster, more of just a straight elevator dropping. But it seems like a tale of two halves in both matches. And I'm curious to get your guys' takes, because I've been not so much hounding it on this pod, but it's been building in my mind all season that Tuchel isn't a great first half manager. We've talked about his lineups being kind of odd in the past. For whatever reason, he is the world's greatest halftime talk manager, because we always come out firing in the second half outside of those first 2 minutes. So I'm curious to get your guys' take on whether this is just kind of isolated incident, or whether this is, maybe something Tuchel needs to work on.
So I'll start with the Luton match. I've said this to you guys in our group chat. I'm sick of having to report on the games that are just absolute nightmares, right? And again, it's no fault of anybody's, right? We all have jobs. Parks, Collins, I know you guys are traveling. My ass is working from home, so I have that luxury. But I always get the shit games to watch and to report on. And so, of course, the ones I have to watch in depth, and I'm just over here losing my mind. Luton Town was, again, very similar match. I don't know. it seems like early in the season we were playing quick, we were playing aggressive, we were playing offensive. I don't know why it seems like play has slowed up, especially in the first half. Like you talked about, Collins, like we're trying to play so much out of the back and teams are constantly sitting back, right? We don't get our chances until we counter for what seems like the most part. It seems like a very Mourinho-esque style as far as like how we can score off the counter. I know we're not playing for that, but it just seems like that's when we're most dangerous. I don't know. That game was all over the place. I had way too many emotions going on at the time, and obviously trying to manage that and work and trying to look at different bits and pieces, trying to analyze it. It's a lot, but I don't know. It like at this point, the FA Cup or any other chance for a title besides Premier League should be top priority. That's kind of how I look at it. And yeah, we've had injuries and we've had a lot of people with fatigue with all the matches that we've played. But at the same time, like, it doesn't matter who's out there. They all train with the first team. They know the system. They know what's asked of them. The only person you could argue would be RLC playing center back. That might be the only thing you can question. But he did a great job even in that. I was really pleased with his performance. I just think that there's a lot of squad rotation and people out of their normal or comfort rotation as far as where they're playing. And I think that makes things difficult, but at the same time, the overall concept and the overall tactics of the team really shouldn't be that much of an impact. Wherever you are, you know the role, you know what's expected, you go through it in training, you know who's going to be available, things that you should know. I just think there's a lack of execution going on right now.
Yeah, I did go back and watch the Luton Town match. So against my greater judgment, Matt, it was weird though, because I knew we won, so I wasn't worried. And I knew that if I was watching it live, I'd be like, are we going to win? Like, are we going to pull this off? Like, so it's a weird thing when you watch the game, kind of on replay. But the other one besides RLC is Kennedy made his first, start for Chelsea in years, right? Like he hasn't been out there with the boys either. So I know we called him like a month ago or so, and so he hasn't had a full season kind of under his belt. He's the other one I kind of give an excuse to. But you're dead on. It was slow, it was uninspired, and then you mix that in with the unfamiliarity of people playing in different positions, and so nothing is more painful to me as a fan than slow buildup that leads to an errant pass that just gets turned over because you thought someone. I saw a ball from the left side that went like between where Rudy would be and someone else on that right side, and it just gets picked off. And I'm just watching this like, man, that's just a familiarity thing, and so that's where the lineup kind of stalls out. So you mix those two things in together, and a dream start for Luton, right? Like they scored in the second minute or third minute on a really great corner kick that I don't think was the fault of anyone. I mean, it's about as perfect of a dream start you could have for Luton, or it's a ball that only the person attacking it could get to, and he puts a header on it that hits the crossbar or the whatever. It's insane. So given that, and given the fact that after 1-1, Luton goes up 2-1 on probably a Sarr error, right? I mean, Sarr probably was out of position in that, and then just a really well taken in stride finish and a cool, calm, collected finish for Luton. I thought the boys showed a lot of character to come back. It was one of those where I totally could have seen, especially with all the distraction going on with Abramovich and Tuchel having, I'll call it a blow up because the media called it a blow up, but he's getting asked these questions about war, and he's just like, guys, you got to stop talking about war to me when we're here playing soccer. This isn't the time and the place, and I'm not here to comment on war situations. So I really liked his press response saying like, this isn't the time and place to talk about these things. And I don't know about these things because I've never fought in a war before. So it's pretty terrible, right? I thought the guys showed a lot of grit to come back and actually gut out a performance. But the first half was terribly stale, and I saw zero creativity. So is it the halftime talk, Collins, or is it just sort of like the kick in the ass, or is it just the familiarity and sinking into the game, kind of getting familiar with your opponent and kind of digesting and understanding more? I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's the biggest trend that we've seen from our guys.
And man, you guys are spot on there with the slow build up and the just kind of lackadaisical play, and it's amazing when you look at the goals scored this week, who they were scored by, who was involved, who had the assist, who had the hockey assist, and it's the guys who move. It's Timo Werner, it's Kai Havertz, it's Christian Pulisic, it's Reece James. I'm sorry to keep sounding the horn on this, but Rom stagnates the offense so much. And it's because he doesn't move. And we had talked about moving to the Burnley game where Kai Havertz hits that header at the back post. Yeah, Rom probably also finishes that, but does Rom even get there? Does Rom make the correction to adjust his body to make that header? You guys are shaking your heads no, and absolutely no, he doesn't. He'll turn, he'll give the thumbs up, he'll give a couple claps. Yeah, he's the king of the thumbs up. I'm glad that Tuchel has seemingly started to build his lineups around guys who will move, especially in a game like Burnley, where they're going to sit back and just pound you. You got to have guys who are going to make those runs. I thought for as out of position as Saul looked in that match, I thought he did a great job getting into space down that left flank. Again, Kai Havertz made great runs. Pulisic made great runs. The second half of that Burnley match, and the second half of the Luton Town match, we saw a lot more movement, a lot more fluidity, and there's a common denominator there, and it's Brown. we don't look good with him in.
So one additional thing that I just want to throw out there I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I'm almost more comfortable if we're down by a goal than I am if it's 0-0 or if it's tied. Mm-hmm. You see more energy out of the boys. You see them attacking the game and taking control of the game. And I think that kind of fits into that first half, right? Like we've seen, they're kind of just almost moving it around a little bit, trying to like see what's open, and nobody's really moving because I don't know if they don't know where to go, if they don't know what's open, familiarity. I don't know, but I almost seem better off if we're down a goal because I know that we're going to have even more chances going forward.
The thing that I agree in principle there, but the thing that makes me nervous is that we can't finish. Like, our finishing is so inconsistent that if we go down a goal, I'm like, well, we're not going to win this match. We might get a point. Whereas if it's 0-0, it's like, all right, we just need one ball to bounce to Christian Pulisic, who happens to be a yard away from the goal, like that fourth one. Then at least you have the shot of luck to steal 3 points. But absolutely, Matt, we do show more urgency. We do show more movement when we are down than when we're level.
There was a point in the Luton match, I'm pretty sure it was the Luton match, where Rudiger took a strike and it kind of hit a deflection, and it was kind of open for someone to take it. And I'm thinking to myself, is our best offense Rudy blast and pray that it falls to someone on our team to get a goal? Like, are we really doing this right now? Is that what we've reverted to? I just was laughing to myself, like, because Rudy had a couple pretty good strikes that were that were on target at least. And, he gets more attempts than Rom, and that's wrong. That's not that shouldn't be the case. And he hasn't really scored one of those yet, but he could, and it leads to some good things. So I don't hate it, and it keeps people honest. So
I still think the narrative is going to be, because he's getting closer on those. He's starting to be on target with them. He's going to hit one in a big game, and it's going to be the winner. And he's going to Mario Balotelli it, rip off the shirt, and the shirt's going to say, "I signed the contract." I'm waiting for it. I'm ready.
not if you're right.
Well, we have the funds now. I mean, we don't have to worry about Christensen anymore and re-signing him. So shell out the cash.
Yeah, I did see Christensen. What?
Is he officially gone?
He took his medical today and passed. So it's just a matter of crossing T's, dotting I's. But one thing I did see, shifting to transfers here, we are essentially done with transfers until the ownership issue is sorted out. So there were talks of the Ousmane Dembele on a free, kind of heating up. Those talks have ceased. Tuchel mentioned that he's thrown ideas to Czech and to Marina, but no solid talks on who they're going to be targeting in the summer. Is this a worry for us? Is this something, at least in my mind, I would like to think that everybody involved has got, their NFL draft board, every single player available, where you would rank them, something going into summer. And even looking at the Rudy contract, I don't know what the status of that is now with new ownership possibly coming in. Are things going to work themselves out? Do you think Roman's going to splash cash until somebody comes in, or are we going to be kind of self-transfer banned this summer?
Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, considering the last time we had a transfer ban, who came through our academy. Now, I know that that's a more temporary kind of look at life, and we got very, very lucky. But I also look at guys like Harvey Vale is a great example. If Harvey Vale had to come back and play for us, alongside the normal people that we've talked about a lot, like Billy Gilmore and Conor Gallagher and Ambrosia, for that matter, and if all four of them came back, I mean, those are pretty damn good signings if you think about it. And so I don't think Roman's going to splash cash. I don't think anytime a sale gets announced, usually this kinds of things get halted. And so money in, money out is a lot tighter guarded. And that's true for any kind of corporate sale of anything. So I don't think he'll continue to fund transfers until it gets sold. And so I think we might be on a self-imposed ban, but I don't think it's the end of the world for us.
So the first thing that came to mind was Newcastle, right? They just had their takeover, or I wouldn't call it takeover, but they just had their new ownership come in. It was at a perfect time, right? Where the ownership did have the opportunity to splash cash on transfers, right in the middle of the season, that January window. We're looking mid-March. I don't know how much you can do as far as dealings go in March. Usually the only thing you're going to see would be a free transfer, but at that point, people that are on free transfer or available for it, they're probably in talks with other clubs already that are going to be in a more stable ownership situation than us. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did that. And Parks, you're dead on, right? I was thinking the exact same thing. You have the loan army, and we've seen good things happen with people coming back from loan. We've seen good things coming out of the academy. The other piece of that is the injuries, right? We were without Chills and Reece for a while. You immediately see the impact when Reece is back. Chills, I'm a little bit more hesitant on, just because he's coming off of a big ACL injury. Those are usually tough to recover from. You don't know what you're going to get back out of that player after the injury. So I'm still a little hesitant on that. But if you look at our team as is, everybody healthy, why do we need to sign anybody with all the options that we have, right? So we have everybody. We bring back Broja, Gallagher, Gilmore. What more do we have to go out and get, right? And we're probably going to end up making money based off of selling of some people who aren't going to fit the system, or who have been rumored to leave or be kind of out of the club. So you're going to make profit on that, and then maybe you can talk about bringing in a big name or two. But at this point, the way that the team is now, and if you look into summer when people are brought back from loan, I don't see a huge reason why we need to go out and spend cash given the team that we have.
I agree with you guys, but I think the loan army will suffice. I think the academy will suffice, except for the fact that I don't think it's going to fill our positions of need. You look at who we are automatically losing this year, it's going to be Christensen. It's looking like Dave. And the longer this drags on, the less faith I have in Ruger coming back. So that leaves you with Thiago Silva, Malang Sarr, and Trev Chalobah. And that's it for your center backs. Yeah, you got Levi Colwell coming back on loan, and he's had a great year at Huddersfield. I know we joke about Matty Miazga, but he's not coming back. Like, there's no chance of that. I don't. Maybe Xavier Mbayumba, the former Barcelona and Ajax youth player who was with our development squad, but he's supposed to be so highly touted. Why haven't we seen him this year? I think there's issues there, whether it be attitude, whether it be something else, because it's not injuries. And then you look at the wingbacks, and we don't really have anybody out there unless you want to maybe call back Bakayoko, who can kind of play a wingback.
Lewis Hall.
Yeah, I mean, he's
give him a trot. I trust him over Alonso.
Man, I see. That's the thing, is like your depth is Alonso and a 17-year-old.
I'll take the 17-year-old.
I'd rather have neither. I'd rather have somebody established.
But you also have Kennedy then, right? We talked about that. Give him a couple more.
I think he's out of contract after this year.
Well, honestly, it's not going to be probably that expensive to re-up him on a deal, especially if he's been on loan for the better part of his career. So I just think that we have options. But sorry, Collins, go ahead. Finish your thought.
We do have options. I just don't think that they're great options. And you look even further up the pitch. We have a shit ton of midfielders. I'm not worried about the midfield. But you look at what have we talked about? Consistent finishing. And yes, I think Armando Broja is a great option. But you're going to need some wingers too. I mean, we don't have anything in the wings, so to speak, outside of what we already have here at the club. So I wish that we could get something done, but Parker, I think you're right. I'm not sure that Roman's going to spend cash on something that he's no longer actually invested in, and a new owner isn't going to sanction it before they've actually signed any paperwork. So the quicker this transition is made, I think the better off we're going to be in the summer.
I'm actually not afraid that the new owners will be in a position to sign players in the summer when it comes time. I think we'll be in a position to, financially buy people, especially knowing who they're buying. And there's also, I did read that Roman's looking to get some sort of financial guarantee put into the contract of the new buyers that they will spend money and that they will kind of, I don't know how to say it, abide by the way that things have been done in the past, I guess. So, I mean, when all eyes are on you as new ownership, that would be the time to spend at least some, at least get 2 or 3 signings. It doesn't have to be, oh, we're getting Haaland, Mbappe, and Neymar and Messi and Ronaldo. Like we're getting everybody. Like, look at us. It doesn't have to be that, but 2 or 3 big name players that fill the holes that you mentioned, Collins, because as much as I do like the young kids coming up, you need options and you need depth. And when Chelsea has the potential to play 66 matches this year, and with injuries that come up, we've felt this depth. I mean, if you go back and listen to our early pods, we thought we were the deepest team in the league and maybe in the world, and we still might be. But at the same point, when you play this often and this frequently, it hurts, and you need that depth and you need those suitable options coming off the bench and in the rotation.
And with the new owners, you see this time and time again. You saw even Newcastle do this, splashing how much on Chris Wood, like 40 mil. New owners want to impress the fans. They want to make an impact. They want to say, hey, this is what we're doing for you. So I think we're going to get, assuming the sale happens in the next probably month and a half, 2 months, I think we get one really big name signing, and then hopefully some good depth pieces outside of that, or some starters, especially at the wings. And I do want to real quick transition to the wings, because it's been a hot topic all year. Matt, you were kind of the spearhead of this topic. But now it's starting to get noticed by everyone. And it's that Mason Mount is shit in the bed on a pretty consistent basis. Against Burnley, I guess it wasn't really shit in the bed. It was just that he didn't really do anything or do much. And, we have established players, Ziyech, especially on the right wing. Pulisic over his last couple matches has looked good on the left wing. What do we do with Mason Mount at this point?
So he is. Here's how I kind of understand where he's at right now. Last year he was the guy, right? I feel like he's trying too much. You have all these other players finally coming into their own, right? You have Kai coming into his own. You have Timo coming off the bench usually. Christian is starting to play better. Ziyech has been in a run of form that's the reason why we signed him, is for all the matches that he's pulled off. I feel like he's still trying to be the Mason Mount of last year when we don't need him to be. And, whether that's on him, whether that's on Tuchel, whoever, I just think that he's trying to do more than he needs to. He was a one-man wrecking crew last year, right? We saw the comparisons. Is he the next, Eden Hazard for Chelsea? Last year he had to be, right? Because we weren't getting a lot from other places, at least, early in the season, or even 2 years ago. He kind of became the face of the club. And now I think he just needs to realize that it's not all on his shoulders. And that's kind of how I look at it. I feel just by watching him play, he's trying to take people one-on-one. He's trying to do a lot of intricate stuff that he doesn't need to do. Like, he just needs a simple link up or a simple, square pass, just very simple, basic things. And it reminds me of kind of Ziyech when he was in, his slump early on. Like, he didn't really know what he needed to do, but then he finally figured out, here's what's going to work for me. And I don't think that Mason is at that point, because I think he was thrown into the gauntlet very early, very kind of unaware. Nobody knew a lot about him, right? They knew that he was a good prospect in Cobham, but nobody really knew much about him in the Premier League. Took the Premier League by storm, and I think, people have kind of figured him out. And he just needs to, I think, adjust his game or rethink his game to what's going to be best for the team, and not necessarily himself.
So, Matt, what do you do as Thomas Tuchel? What do you do as the manager? Is it better to sit him for a couple matches? Is it better to play him and let him, as a young player, kind of figure this out? What do you think?
I think for right now, I would keep him out. Like obviously keep him on the bench, but I wouldn't start him just because we've seen more effectiveness out of Timo. And I mean, all three of us have been calling for, we want Timo. I feel like he provides a different threat. We know Mace is going to come inside. If he's on the left wing, he's going to come inside. If he's on the right, he's going to get wide and then just cross it. And I feel like Timo is more direct. He causes more chaos. And so I like that. Obviously, I wouldn't put him over Cho at this point. We talked about Cho early on. Is he going to be the one that's going to take that left side? For a while, he was, right. He had a good run of form, and unfortunately, we haven't seen that lately. So again, right now to me, it seems like it's Timo's to lose, or once Zia comes back, and then you throw Christian on the left, then it's Christian's to lose. But I just think that for now, Mason needs to be. I don't think he needs to start. Throw him in, cup games, or if you even the little match we have coming up, I'd be fine with starting him in that. Right, we got the 2-0 advantage. I'd be fine with that. But I think in your big games, I wouldn't. But then that brings back to an interesting point. And Parker, you had kind of brought this up before. Our schedule coming up. It's a little bit gentler, right, than what we've seen, especially the competition that we have. If you look at it strictly from a table perspective, we're kind of looking at bottom half of the table teams coming up. So, maybe this is a time to work out some kinks and do some things. But I think with the run of form that we've seen lately out of Timo, Christian, Ziyech, I don't have a spot for him in the starting 11.
Bill, my thunder, Matt. I was gonna reference the matches coming up. That's where I was gonna go with it. So the fact that we have a weaker opposition, I think, is the perfect time to kind of work through the kinks, especially because Ziyech is coming back from injury. So I don't think we want him to play every match in the next month, kind of a thing. So rotate him in, have him be on the right side. But the player that comes to mind for me is Christian. When Christian was struggling in his slump, he would try to take people on one-on-one. He would try to go around people and get picked off and do the tricks and not have it work. And this team is good enough where simple, quick, one-touch football in tight areas is where they really excel. Ironically enough, I think Saul's really good at it. I think he kind of gets flicks on balls that kind of come at him, and he plays them into space. That he does a pretty good job of it. It actually kind of fits that system pretty well. But when Christian links up with people and they go bang, 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 and then someone makes a run, is when we're at our best. And you don't have to take people on one-on-one. I know he's used to it, and I know Christian's used to it. Christian, when he was Project Restart, Christian could take on anyone. And we've all seen the clips of Aiden Hazard taking on everybody. You put 3 guys on me, I don't fucking care. I'm taking them all on, and I'm scoring, and I'm going to celebrate like I'm a 12-year-old because this is fun and this is easy. We don't have that anymore. We don't have someone in that kind of a form anymore, and we don't need to. We don't need someone to run the show, Matt. You're spot on. You don't need it. It's too much, and it's a detriment when you go one-on-one with someone, you get picked off, you're out of position, they go running at you. 2 passes later, 3 passes later, they're getting a good chance. We don't need that. We need our guys behind the ball. We need quick passes and making runs. And he's not in my starting 11 today if I have to start an 11 in a big match. But I look at the people coming up, and we can afford to have Mace out there because he hasn't been awful. He has been subpar, but I don't think he is like completely terrible, I guess.
I was going to reference the stats on this one because, of course, right? Take a drink. In my head, I feel like I haven't seen Mason Mount consistently over the last 2-3 months. we've played 16 matches to start the new year. He's played in 13 of them. So and started all but 2 of those. So he's played. He's had plenty of opportunities. The Luton Town I was going to write off as, he had Hudson-Odoi with him on that wing. But outside of that, he's had pretty decent. I mean, he had Reece James with him against Burnley. I almost wonder if it's an issue where it's like Pulisic, where do you play him? What's his best position? I've seen his best position as an 8. I've seen his best position as a 10, down the wing, centrally. I don't know. I don't know what Mason Mount's position is. I would like to think a 10, but we don't really have that in this formation in the 3-5-1, whatever you want to call it. I don't really know what to do with Mace at this point. I think I agree. I was going to say let him ride. I was going to say let him keep playing, let him build that consistency. But the stats have changed my mind. They have altered my narrative. I think you sit him a couple matches. You let him rest up. You let him kind of get his head straight. And honestly, sadly, you wait for someone to falter like a Pulisic or like a Ziyech or whoever it is. And then, luckily enough, as you guys have mentioned, and I hate to keep hitting on it, but our schedule does weaken. And then you got some time to work on some things.
And one additional thing I want to throw out there, and I said this in December, it doesn't look like we have a tough schedule on paper, but you're also going up against teams in the bottom half. Now the relegation battle is starting to heat up. You got teams with nothing to lose. They're going to come at you. Is Mace the right person that you want out there when it comes to a knockdown, drag out game? Because I feel like a lot of these are going to be that way.
I think, honestly, it depends on how Timo does. And it depends on how quickly Ziyech comes back. Because if Timo is, just kind of running just to run Timo, like we've seen at some points this year, then maybe Mace is more, maybe more the Tuchel's cup of tea, somebody who's actually putting his mind to what he's doing. But you're right. You look at, we got Norwich. We dropped 7 on them last time. They're kind of a different team now. It's not Daniel Farka running it. You got Newcastle after that. But they've got a little bit more fight, a little more spirit.
I think I just remember catching the stat. I don't think they haven't dropped points in 8 of their last 10. So, I mean, they're a team that's coming into their own, especially with new ownership. You got that new boost of life in them. You got new transfers that came in. They're a team.
Newcastle are 14th. They've won 4 out of their last 5.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're not the same slouch of a team that they were before.
No.
So again, on paper, 3 against 14, 3 against 20th, 19th, whatever. On paper, shouldn't be a problem. But this has kind of been an Achilles heel of a lot of Chelsea teams, is dropping points to the teams that we should beat.
I'll raise you one too, Matt. Chelsea versus Luton Town, and we almost lost to them. Not even a Premier League side. I mean, people come to fight, man. People come to play, and no one's a slouch in this league. So you see what teams are made of. You get the best. We've always talked about that. Chelsea gets the best out of teams.
The last thing I want to talk about tonight is the return of Reece James. Because there was talk. There was talk when him and Chills went down of, they're big losses, but it's something that we can kind of ride the storm without. And I think we've seen this week how much we truly missed Reece James, and I can't wait for Chilwell to come back. But we'll focus on Reece James for the moment. His goal, first of all, to open up the Burnley game, and we scored 3 goals in 10 minutes. Oh, fun fact. I'm just going to interject a fun fact. Get off topic for just a minute. Kai Havertz scored twice in 2 minutes. Up until today, that was more than Jadon Sancho had scored in his Manchester United career. So, just deuces. But back to my topic. Reece James. Just his, I mean, just whipping in balls all game. He's a force down that right side. And then the goal. I mean, he has to be the best attacking right back, maybe in the world, but definitely in the Premier League with his cut back goal. Anybody else on our team tries to do that. And we've seen Pulisic and Mason Mount and and Rom and so many people try to do that and fail spectacularly. It was nice to see Reece James back on the pitch and affecting the game. I didn't really have a question. I just wanted to say that.
I will do all of our listeners a favor, knowing my track record with jerseys. I will not buy a Reece James jersey just out of fear. So I will not do that. I just want to bring that up. But having Reece back is huge, right? Dave obviously getting up there. We're probably 80% sure he's done after this year with Chelsea. He's been playing a lot of games and trying to fill that void and do a lot of that stuff while Reece was down. And outside of him, who else do you have? You have Christian playing a right wing back position. You have maybe Cho, maybe Trev, RLC. Like you really don't have a solid option back there. Reece is definitely, I think, the number one. And Dave is a very close number two. But Reece is definitely the future of the club in this system under Tuchel. Being able to bomb forward and create his chances. We saw what he can do healthy early in the season and the impact that he made just when he came back in 2 games. Like, he's back. And I think that is huge, especially as we move towards, more cup finals, the Champions League, things like that. So having him back, I think is a huge advantage for us.
And not only that, not only having him come back for these, cup finals for big matches down the road, but it just eliminates one thing that, that another team's going to try to do. Now it just kind of like isolates, like, yeah, they're probably going to go down our left flank. They're going to go at Sarr. They're going to go at Saul. They're going to go at Alonso. It kind of just eliminates that whole right side. It provides protection for whoever's playing that right wing, allows more creativity out on that right wing. And I can't say enough good things. It is so good to see Reece James back on the pitch.
Finishing speaks for itself. He put in probably 4 ridiculously good balls that could have been finished easily in that match. But the thing that stands out as just that makes me giddy as a fan is when he wins back balls just by being physical. And it kind of reminds me of a little bit of Thiago Silva, where he kind of knows where someone's going to go, beats them to the spot, bodies them, and then just kind of wins the ball pretty easily. And I'm just yep, he's back. He's confidence personified on the ball. He knows what he's doing, and he's still super young, and he plays above his years and experience. And he's a breath of fresh air, man. It's so great to see him back. And it's tough for me to not fantasize about what would have happened this year had Chills and Reece not gone down. It's tough. And I know that you can't do that. And I know that it's not good to do that, but he adds so much, and it's not a position that we're super, super deep in. So when you have to rotate around him, it's felt very, very strongly that we're missing him. And we have probably said that we're missing him a lot on this podcast in general, but we were, and we are, and it's so great to see him back. He's a very complete player, and across the board, he does a lot of really great things for the club.
And let's just for everybody listening, let's not take away from the job that Dave has done in Reece's absence. Like, we've seen almost kind of a small little resurgence of Dave in that position, right? He's always been solid, everything like that. But even when Reece was out, we saw more of an attacking style Dave. We saw the experience in defense. We saw everything for that month and a half, whatever the case is. So take nothing away from Dave in this whole thing, because he is, again, he's done his job, and he has done it to the nth degree, especially with his age and with the amount of matches that we're playing and everything that was expected of him. Kudos to him for doing that. And having Reece back gives time for Dave to kind of heal up. It doesn't put as much pressure on Reece to like, oh, well, I have to do this day in and day out, right? Dave has been in a pretty good run of form. So now you have options, and you can, save Reece for your big matches or your important matches. And then you have Dave, who is more than capable of handling his own. So I just want to call that out, that, it's not a slight on Dave, because he's been playing ridiculous football over the last 2 months.
I'm not slighting on Dave here, but I'm walking it back just a little bit, because Dave did great defensively. He was everything that we've ever seen out of Dave ever. It was good to see. He looked young, he looked youthful, but he wasn't whipping in those balls like he used to. He wasn't as much of an offensive threat. We saw him pin back quite a bit. So I love Dave. Dave did a great job. I'm happy to see Reece back, because it just, I've talked about it on previous pods where, when we have Alonso and Dave as our wing backs, it's basically losing two attackers there. You're working with your front three who can't finish, and N'Golo Kante, who can't really create much, and then Jorginho, who's going to back pass to Rudiger or Silva. And Matt, I know you're going to roast me for that later, but it's so nice to have Reece James back. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when Ziyech is back, assuming he comes back in form? And that right side is just peaches and dimes and just sexiness all the time. Oh my gosh.
So the one thing I do want to say is, while Reece was out, that's also when you saw Ziyech go absolutely nuts. So Dave didn't have to bomb forward as much, because Ziyech was handling things by himself. So that's just the one chink in the armor that I want to point out.
But now we get to mix in overlaps, and can you imagine trying to defend Ziyech's left foot, and then all of a sudden he lays it off to Reece James cutting behind him, who's going to whip in a ball? Oh my gosh, I'm not.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for it. I really am. I'm just pointing out, like, Dave didn't have to bomb forward. Ziyech took it by himself against 3, 4, 5 defenders. He don't care. Like, he did it all. So
pretty sure that sexy goal that Ziyech had was Dave on the overlap, kind of like freezing someone for a second, and then Ziyech, had that top bins finish. So the old man can still draw someone.
Yes, you have to respect him.
Yeah. But if it's Reece, I mean, he might draw 2.
Yeah.
Hey, and maybe that'll free up Rom, and he'll have no defenders on him,
and still smash it wide.
Ball, thumbs up, and clap.
Yep. Smash it wide with thumbs up.
I hate him.
Also, if anybody on our pod would like to participate in our new drinking game, it will be whenever Rom throws a thumbs up, please partake in a beverage. Let us know on social media how long you lasted until you are obliterated.
We won't see it, because we will also be obliterated.
We'll catch you on the day after.
Be obliterated, but hey, we'll be giving that thumbs up. So all is well, right? That's all you got to do is give a thumbs up, and and problem solved, right? That's it.
Exactly. A thumbs up solves the world's problems.
So speaking of our social media, thanks to DJ Parkour over here, we're gonna have a Twitch stream fairly soon. I think this episode we're in the process of testing it out.
We're live right now. It's been live for all hour and 5 minutes. So
okay.
It is live. I think we're okay. I think it worked all right. So we can start bringing people to it now, I guess.
So we'll be sending out notifications via social media on that. Just know that we typically pod Sundays at 8:30 Central, and that's American Central Time, America. So feel free to find us at Flag Down Pod on twitch.tv or the Twitch app. You can also find us by that tag basically anywhere: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can find us at Flag Down Pod. You can find us in terms of our podcast itself, again, basically anywhere: Google, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, etc., etc., etc. Again, just search Flag Stays Down Podcast. If you are on one of those, please feel free to subscribe, rate, and review. Again, that helps us to spread our bullshit to whoever wants to listen. So please do that. And lastly, we are going to, now that we're on Twitch, also reboot our YouTube, which I haven't updated in quite a minute. So again, find us on YouTube at Flag Down Pod. Boys, my spirits have been lifted. Ooh, and also my alcohol level has increased. So thank you. It's been another great week of potting, and I'm looking forward to next week, and hopefully again more wins, more dubs.
It's always the goal.
All right. Well, cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers. I'm all potted out.